Classic 2019 judge. I'm Steph Barnhart. I produce the event. I'm the program director for Willamette Week's Cultivation Classic. And this is a very huge deal that all of you are in the space today. We're going to get through a lot of information, and Angel just fixed the mic. Everyone, please give a round of appreciation. Thank you, Angel. Volume, is that okay? That's better, thank you. Angel manages the space here at the commune. Thank you very much for hosting us today. There are a couple of other partners who made this particular, like the black kit that you're all holding, possible. We're going to have a really brief opportunity to hear from Justin from Toroma about the special chocolate that's in your bag. I want to give another quick appreciation to the kit sponsor and longtime partner East Fork Cultivars. I think Emily. Justin, do you want to hop over here and tell everybody what the chocolate bar is? Okay.
So wonderful to see all your lovely faces this morning, or this afternoon actually. In what's becoming a tradition, we have made a special flavor of our dark chocolate, the Whole Foods full spectrum alternative edible. It's Oregon smoked hazelnut this year. We figured, louder, louder, louder. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, good. The black part?
Yep.
Like this?
Yes.
Okay. So in what's becoming a tradition, we made a special flavor this year for the Cultivation Classic because we figured you guys needed more weed. I heard there was a shortage. So in order to address the shortage, we've supplied the folks who need it most, yes, the folks standing in this room, with the weed you desperately need. You can thank me later.
Thank you now.
You're welcome. So we made this bar in celebration of a few facts. We here in Oregon, we are superlative in many ways. We grow the finest cannabis in the world right here in this state. Yes, that's worthy of applause. We are #1 in hazelnut production, as well as being #1 in failed workplace drug screens. 3 years in a row. We've made this bar to celebrate you and your achievements.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
This is a very serious endeavor that we're about to share with you, but we like to have fun too. I'm really thrilled to announce Dr. Adi Ray, who's going to do the bulk of work training you on what your month of March is going to entail. Please give a super warm welcome to Dr. Adi Ray.
You guys, I give talks all the time, and I'm very accustomed and comfortable in being in front of 200 people. But I am I have butterflies right now because this is so damn exciting. I don't know if you realize how important your role in this process is, but I certainly realize how important your role in this process is. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and being part of this. This is huge. Okay, so as you're aware, the Cultivation Classic is our very celebratory event that we do in partnership and for the Willamette Week. The sort of machinery behind this process is Smart Cannabis. Who is Smart Cannabis? That's us. Steph? Smart Cannabis. Raise your hand. So all of the hard work and all of the algorithms and all the formulas and all of the process processes that have gone in to make this evaluation process possible. That's all done by some very hardworking humans, and now we all consider ourselves a team. So thank you for being part of our team also. I'm telling you this because in a few places, for instance in your kit or on the website, you might see the words Smart Cannabis or Smart Analytics. I just want it to be very clear that that's us. This is us, the people running this evaluation with you. So, this particular evaluation consists of 145 unique entries. There are 160 of you beautiful humans in here as judges, roughly 3,000 tiny glass jars, which Steph has very painstakingly stuffed for you. The event itself is now taking place across 2 days. It's Friday, May 17th, and Saturday, May 18th at Revolution Hall once again. So if you were there last year, we're at the same venue. The Friday events, there's going to be a number of really exciting satellite events all across town, and you'll see lots more information about that coming up as we get closer to the event. So, what are we doing and why are we doing it? We are objectively evaluating the quality of all of the flowers that are in this competition. The reason that it is very important that we do this process in a blinded fashion is because that is the nature of science. I can't know what's in your kit, and you can't either, because that way, when you really sit down and consume it and you report back about how it made you feel, there is absolutely no bias about who grew it or what kind of light it was grown under, or what kind of distribution channel it came through. All that matters is how it made you feel. So we have been hard at work for the last year, really fine-tuning this process so that we can allow you to focus on simply that. How did it make you feel? So last year's event, we did something really special, which we're going to bring to you all again this year, which was we created a predictive algorithm, which at the end of your judging experience, we'll look at how you answered all of your questions, and we'll be able to tell you, hey, this is the right kind of cannabis for you, based on all of your answers. And that's a really important question, right? All of our consumers are coming into the dispensaries and saying, I want this kind of experience. What's gonna do that for me? And until now, we haven't had any evidence to make those kinds of suggestions. And now we will, thanks to you guys. So this is just a celebration of last year's event when we did this for the very first time with Lisa. Lisa, I know you're in here somewhere. There you are, Lisa. So Lisa was able to come up on stage, and for the first time in history, we used an evidence-based recommendation to celebrate this process. So our privacy policy and terms and conditions are something that you'll have to acknowledge when you first log in to the website to submit your answers. Roughly, it's just that you won't share your login, you won't share the tool, and you won't tamper with the website or mine it for data or insert a virus, just your normal kind of stuff. We will not share any personally identifiable information about you ever. Number one, because we're not really collecting any. The reason that you have an assigned login and password is so that all of your data is anonymous. So that means if the feds came knocking on our door or some hacker were to break into our program, they would never be able to tie all of these answers about cannabis to any one individual. I myself also am completely blinded to this process. So although Steph has a sealed record of who got what kit, just in case there's some kind of accident or something gets lost or some kind of problem occurs, I will never know who got what flowers and how they made you feel. This is a completely anonymous process, which is really, really important. So it's not possible for us to share your information with anyone if I don't have any information about you. So that's great. There is also, when you registered, there was an option to be a part of scientific research. And we are aware that some of you are not comfortable being part of that scientific research and you opted out, and we will respect that. You will not be included in any analysis that we use going forward. However, I will tell you, the feds like all of the, the governing bodies who determine what does ethical human research look like, what are the rules you have to follow in order to be doing ethical human research, they have determined that if you have a completely anonymous data set, it doesn't even qualify as human subjects research because it's totally anonymous. So I'm spending a lot of time here because I want you to be very certain that we have gone through every possible step to ensure the safety and security of your data and make sure that your anonymity is protected. Okay, so what's in your kit? Good stuff. The best stuff on planet Earth. That's what's in there. You have roughly 11 cultivars that you will have the opportunity to sample between now and April 1st. Your scores, all of your responses are due April 1st. Absolutely no later. Yeah?
That's 12 o'clock, midnight on April 1st. Like Sunday night is the last day of March. I need your scores the morning of April 1st or they will not get counted. So don't miss the deadline, please. I want to address one other element under what's in your kit, especially if you've judged in the past. You might be familiar with our previous way of organizing you as a judge. There were categorizations of kits, and you were either judging sun-grown type 1 or greenhouse-grown type 2 plants, and this year, and Adi can say a lot more about why we've selected this new approach, that's not the case. So unless I looked at you and you checked in and specifically placed a CBD/hemp kit in your hands, you have a random mixture of type 1 and type 2 plants grown with all light types. And that's intentional because, again, we're trying to eliminate all possible biases. Is that the plural of bias? So that's why. If you have a kit that is not a CBD kit in your hand and you're very uncomfortable with that, the way I selected who got those kits was based on your initial sign-up when you told me you have 0 to very limited tolerance for THC or a preference of a CBD-only kit. Those folks received them. Again, if this is a problem for you for any reason, find me at the end and we can see what we can do.
So the other relatively moderate shift from last year is the number of cultivars. So some of you last year had up to 14 or 15 cultivars, and now you'll see you have slightly fewer. Part of the reason for that, there are more of you and fewer flowers per person because we're trying to incentivize you to go back to the same flower twice. The reason for that is so that we can have a baseline. We know what's going on for you and whether that's even a reliable experience for you. So that sort of repeated measures, this is a nerdy statistical term, but those repeated measures, going back to the same flower twice, are very important, and it gives us twice as much data on the other side. So if we have twice as much data about every single flower, then every cultivator in here has an even better chance of truly earning their place on the stage in May. So we would really encourage you, once you get all the way through your kit, all the way through your 11 cultivars, to go back and revisit them, because that revisiting is going to provide us with really, really important data. Okay. Yeah, you can do that part.
Some of you might be able to see this. It says, do not lose your card, take a picture now. I would encourage everyone to write down or otherwise record that weird 4-digit password. That's your access to the survey. I can, if you email me, tell you what your password is. I would really prefer to have 0 emails asking me, what's my password? So please write it down or take a picture if you can. And if for any, we know life happens, okay? We know that especially in this industry and in this year and this time and this day and age, things are wild. And it is possible that you may only get 9 done or whatever. We know stuff can happen, but we encourage you to do whatever you can to at least finish all 11 chemovars in the kit. The producer's results really depend on it. And we're striving for fairness and accuracy as much as possible. So please do what you can to set up your schedule now for the next month to make it so that each kit gets equal love, or each chemovar in the kit gets equal love from you. Oh yeah, a quick word about how your work over the next month fits into the overall scoring for each entry. First of all, if you're a producer and you have product entered in this cup, can you raise your hand? Okay, can we give a huge round of appreciation for anyone who works on the The work you're all about to do makes up for 65% of the overall weight of the finishing score for each entry. There were, like Dr. Ray said in the beginning, 145 unique plants entered this year, which is incredible, especially considering the crazy times. There was a new round of analysis that happened this year that we are really thrilled about. We called it our Smart Squad round, or our analyst round. A couple of people in the room did amazing work on that project. They spent an entire day smelling all 145 plants and conducted a very, very deep QC and aroma analysis of each entry. And again, there were 7 of those individuals doing each entry, striving for great inter-rater reliability. So we'll have a new section this year for scoring. It's 25% of the weight. And the last piece, and a lot of you are familiar with this part of Cultivation Classics, something that I think really sets us apart from any other cup I've ever heard of, is that we also take into account the energy efficiency of each production facility. So the Resource Innovation Institute is our partner on that. Is Derek here? I don't think so. I don't think he's judging this year, but they help us by encouraging all producers to fill out a power score. It spits out a result for how energy efficiency your facility is, and then that too is taken into account, 10% of the weight for each chemovar's overall score. Yeah.
I don't know if this is working. Does it matter if I hold it to my face? No. Okay. So one really important component that we're adding this year is this mindful consumption component. So, and we're not using mindfulness as a buzzword. We're using it because it is neurologically true. So if you can pay attention to your body and your mind, and then you're aware of what has shifted in your body and your mind, that makes you a way better judge. So doing this process mindfully is actually pretty easy. And so what we might recommend that you do, and we've consulted with some kind of mindfulness gurus about this, I don't want to make this a huge ask of you. We definitely know that this is already a good chunk of your time to go through this process. However, if you could take just a second to close your eyes, do a quick body scan as if there's like a little light bar going all the way across your body, and just notice, is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders up in your ears like this, like I'm constantly doing? Do you need to put them down? Do you have any pains in your body? And are there any emotional pains? Is your heart racing? Did you have a long day? And then from that knowledge, what are you adding on top by using your product in your kit? Or what are you removing from that process by using your product in your kit? And that's really it. Just be aware of where you're at, and then once you've consumed, if you go through that identical process, that would be really helpful because you have a baseline. What did I look like before? And now how am I feeling? Yeah?
Do you want us to not smoke anything for a few days before we start?
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So the question was, do you want us to not smoke anything a few days before we start? And the answer is yes. So in our judge recruitment materials, we asked in the recruitment materials, we asked if you would be willing to take a 48-hour tolerance break to sort of allow your brain to reset, maybe diminish your tolerance a little bit, resensitize yourself. Because for some of you who are tough tokers, like there's gonna be some products in your kit that may register below your level of what you're used to. Maybe not, but they may be there. So yes, we would highly advise and recommend that you take a 48-hour tolerance break prior to consuming the first cultivar in your kit. That's our recommendation. So we've already talked about the anonymity of the input. We have also talked about going back to those cultivars a second time. And also, although our Smart Squad has objectively squished all the flowers and sort of tried to stratify the kinds of smells that they produce, they haven't applied any subjective value to those smells, because that's your job. You are representatives of the consumer, and part of the consumer's buying and purchasing experience and incentive is, does this smell good? So that's for you to determine. So if you can, leave your jars sealed as much as you can and come to them, again, mindfully and say, does this actually smell good to me? It's a pretty simple question. Some of them are going to smell better than others to you. But again, this is a subjective thing. Some people find hamburgers appealing, and some people find pizza appealing, and some people only find eggplant parmesan appealing. They're preferences, right? So whatever your preference, but that's a part of it. So stick your nose in there and really tell us how much you like the smell. Cool. Stop. Cool. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick live demonstration. Yes, question?
It's as high as it goes.
Unfortunately not. This is as high as it goes. If you can't see and you would like to see, maybe you could stand up along the wall or along the window. We have worked very, 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 very hard to improve the user experience of the judge survey this year, so hopefully you won't have any trouble at all. And if you do, send us a message. We have our IT guys, and we will figure it out, and we will sort things out for you. But let me do this. I have this guy in the background already going. I can full screen for you? Yep. So you should be able to just hit log in. So when you first log in, you'll get this opportunity to fill out your profile. We are interested in what kind of age range you're in. Again, from a consumer's perspective, we want to know what's valuable to folks under 30 and what's valuable to folks over 60. We also know in the scientific literature there are sex differences. I'm not talking about gender differences. I'm talking about biological sex differences between how cannabis affects biological women and how it affects biological men. So that's it. We just want to know which you are, or if you don't identify as either, or you're something in between, there's the opportunity to report that as well. Another really critical question we're going to ask you is how often you use cannabis, and the reason for that is we're trying to gauge your level of tolerance. We know that, again, a major driving factor in your experience, especially with a high THC cultivar, is going to be driven by how much tolerance you already have to THC. The other thing that we're trying to figure out is if you're making this judgment about, is this a good cultivar? Was it good? Did it produce a good experience? What does good mean to you? So we have a number of options, and you can choose any of these options from I like to feel totally normal, not impaired at all the way up to I have skyrocketed to another dimension. So if you like both of those and everything between, select them all. But if you have a nice little zone where you're like, I got a little too high, or I'm just like not quite there, choose any of these options that appeal to you. And then you'll have an opportunity to say whether or not, if these things apply to you, just check the box, whether or not you participated last year. And then also, if you have a chance to read our privacy policy, terms and conditions, and then acknowledge that you have read those things. So, let's see. Start new survey. There's a little navigation up at the top for you to start a new survey after you have completed your registration. So you'll have a drop-down box for all of the cultivars that are in your kit If this is not true for you, notify us immediately and we'll figure it out.
Can I just,
Go ahead.
I did my best. Okay, I manually did the data input for all like 3,000 4-digit numbers. So these drop-down menus that you will see on your unique screen should be right. It may not be right. The tag on your black kit has a help email address. Please just send a note if in fact you're missing or something seems transposed. I really hope that's not the case, but call me if it is.
Okay. So we have tried to make this easy on you so you don't have to make the typo. So if there's a typo, it's Steph's and not yours. So the next question is, did you check in with your body? Did you do your little body scan to figure out where you were prior to consuming? It doesn't matter if you did or you didn't do it. We're just asking whether or not you did it. How did you consume this flour? So we know that there might be some differences in how it hits you if you are using water filtration or vaporization. So we've asked a brief question about that. This box is really for your opportunity to say whatever the hell you want. Like, oh, it tasted like grapes, or, like, I could see this was like super buzzy, but not a body high.
That's this one here. But this one wants you to put any...
Oh, sorry, this is the temperature setting, yeah. So if you do vaporize, then you have the opportunity to tell us the temperature that your vaporizer was set at, and please let us know if it was Celsius or Fahrenheit, although we could probably figure that out. Yes?
Is there an option for us to sample it in multiple different ways?
Yes. Yes, so every time you consume, you're going to do a new survey. So if you're going back to that same flour and you're going to compare how it affects you with smoking and vaporizing, all you have to do is do a new entry and just tell us how you consumed it. There was another question.
Did you want us to do this, consume it the same way for all samples?
That's up to you. It's really whatever you're most comfortable with your own brain. That's the most important thing. You can do however you like, however it suits you. If you go back and forth, great, go back and forth. So yeah, that's the temperature setting. And now we have a super exciting image which has been pulled out of the scientific literature. Absolutely not to scale, but it is there to help you attempt to indicate how much did you consume, right? So we have everything from a little tiny chillum nug all the way up to a full gram. And I think a lot of the kits that you have are roughly a gram. So the whole nug that you get is about a gram. Did you use the whole thing in one go or not? Kind of. And then this is where you'll have an opportunity to tell us any general observations. Oh, I can totally tell this is a light dep, and like this is your chance to just give us your tasting notes, any general thoughts you have. So now we get to the really exciting stuff, which is how did it make you feel? So there are roughly 5 areas we're interested in. Did it make you sleepy, or the opposite of that? Did it make you happy, or the opposite of that? Did it make you super stony and not able to think, or the opposite of that, whatever that is for you? And that able to think can kind of go 2 ways. It could either be focused, yeah, I can do my email, or it could be creative, yeah, I can do this music piece, whatever. So that's what we're trying to get at. Were you impaired, or were you better at your effectiveness, cognitively? Also, we're asking if it made you more social or introverted or introspective. If you don't know because you didn't have a chance to interact with other human beings, you can just leave that right in the middle. And then your overall sort of mood state. Were you relaxed or were you anxious? We know that THC has prominent abilities to produce anxiety and paranoia, especially at high doses. So this is what we're trying to figure out. Did it happen for you, or did you feel chill? So then we have the 2 questions that are most important. All of these questions will go into our analysis for who the award winners are on stage, because we are going to look at all of your answers and determine which flower of all of these flowers produced the most consistent response in these beautiful humans. Which cultivar stood out amongst all the sea of others to reliably produce the same effect for people? So that's what all of these questions go into. And then the next two are really like the traditional cup sort of questions. Was it appealing? Was its aroma appealing? And was the overall experience appealing? Did you like it? And these are like not super exciting worded questions, but they are scientifically worded questions. So it should be relatively straightforward to say how much you agree with how appealing that flower was for you. Now, another really important question is the type of activity or experience that would go well with this flower. And you already had a chance to write your dissertation up top. So just give us an activity or two or three separated by commas. Hiking, comma. Watching TV, comma. Netflix, comma. All the things, comma. So, the very last thing is your opportunity to tell us if there were any effects that were weird or undesirable. Obviously, if you're in this room, you probably know that cannabis can give you the munchies and red eyes and lots of other things. So if you experience any of that with any of these particular cultivars, just let us know. This is also a really important question because some of these answers might be able to help medical patients. So for instance, if we find that there's one cultivar that is particularly good at producing munchies every time that somebody consumes it, that might be a constellation of chemistry that could be utilized by people who have cancer and AIDS, who need help, feeling hungry. So all of these questions, again, yes, we are determining the winners that are going to end up on stage, but we're also asking really important questions, fundamental questions that no one has ever asked before. How did this make you feel? No, really. How did it make you feel? Because it's important. And that's it.
How do we judge which feeling is the best feeling? If that's what we're looking for, or how are we kind of like nailing that down? This is what I like the best, or how do we judge which has received the highest score as far as feeling goes?
So the anchor question in your registration asks you what does that mean to you? So it's quite subjective. If you're looking for, I like to feel a little bit lifted, but I still can do all of my daily tasks and I can drive, great. So then which one of those cultivars did that for you? That's your own scale. That's for you to determine. How much did you like this flower? Was the overall experience of this flower appealing? I strongly agree. That's it. It's quite simple. It's all up to you, what you're looking for. Go ahead.
I just want to underscore and make it very clear that for the 65% weight that we use to calculate numerically who's going to win for gold, silver, and bronze medals in the categories, which will in fact be separated by production method and plant type, meaning sun-grown type 2s compete against each other and supplemental light-grown type 1s compete against each other. Right here, that's this. These numbers that you plop into these two drop-downs will be the meat of that 65% weight. Does that clear that up? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question. Will we all get to know which strains, for instance, if we like one particular that's in our kits, at the end of our thing, will we get told, hey, this was some, dog walker or
Yes.
dog walker,
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yes, yes. We want to know too.
Yeah. Put your hand in the air if you remember the posters. Okay, the posters are coming back! Yay! We last year had a digital dashboard version of sort of the report at the end. It's the event in May is a celebration of and a reveal of all of this knowledge that we will have gleaned and the winners. But we will have a long hallway of 150 posters representing both laboratory and analytical report information for each, but also these hiking, Netflix, all the things, that's going to be on the poster too. Where you can buy this product is going to be on the poster, and so on and so forth. How well it scored on the power score, it's just going to be a nice little view of everything, and it's going to tell you exactly what it was, who grew it, what the potency numbers were, potential, possible terpenes, possible THC and CBD, potential. It's going to be there. And I'll give you also a big old spreadsheet, hopefully on May 20th, if I'm standing up straight on May 20th. that will allow you to look at all entries, not just those in your kit, and see what they were and how they placed.
Okay.
October?
Myron, you know I'm going to try my best.
So one additional thing about that is after the contest is over, after the competition is over, we'll enable an additional sort of reports section of your login. So when you come back to your survey,
Yes.
you'll get all of the ones that were in your kit, and you'll also get our prediction tool. So you'll say, oh, well, if you liked San Fernando OG, you're really going to like Montana Silverton.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you'll get that as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, about how many judges are looking at each flower?
How many what?
How many
12.
judges are evaluating each number?
12.
So that means like if everyone can come back to their flower twice, then we have 24 data points for every single flower, which is huge. Absolutely huge. Steph.
When are your scores due? Thank you. I'm really serious about it, and it's not a joke. I know that's a terrible day to have a deadline. Please, 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 please turn in all your surveys. We're going to move into a space now where we can take questions, maybe talk about some other best practice things. One that's on my mind is some people don't like the idea of this digital tool, or like, I have my process and I like to consume the way that I do. Can I take analog notes and then come back later, the morning after, that evening, whatever, and fill out the digital tool? Of course you can. Just make sure you familiarize yourself with all the questions in the tool so that while you're taking analog notes, you don't miss any data points. I see a question from Beth in the back.
And it would be helpful to have a worksheet that we could print out of their potential responses and answers.
Yeah, the suggestion was like a PDF-able version that I could send. Yeah, we can make that happen. Zia.
Can you clarify the deadline one more time? So do we have all day April 1st? So
Thank
really
you.
it's the day before
Yeah, Sunday, March 31st.
is actually the deadline.
Yeah, before you go to sleep on Sunday, March 31st, finish your surveys. Yeah,
Did you say this website works on phones?
Yep.
Okay, it does.
yeah, it's mobile responsive. Yeah, works great. Emily in the back. Yeah.
Will you be sending us like reminders or check-ins to keep testing?
Oh, like a notification. I can hook that up for you. I can text you. No, but I will invite you all to make a calendar appointment with yourself. You know, like so I have to do that. Myron.
Last year, you guys added a really cool tool where we can look back and see which we had rated and what we had done. Does this have the same look back feature?
Yes. But it won't be enabled until the competition's over.
Oh,
Oh, wait, so you're talking about the record of your surveys?
Yeah, like
Yes.
last year, like I was like, oh shoot, did I make sure, like, just so you make sure you did it, and
Yes.
then you could look back and say, okay, how did this rank the last time I did it?
Yeah, so in the top navigation bar, there is a survey history. You'll as soon as you submit one survey, you'll have a list there. And then you can also go back to your registration in case you change your mind about your biological sex.
Okay, perfect, that happened.
That happens.
I see here, and I see Connie too, but right here, Tori.
Yeah.
Did I get your name right?
So if our kit doesn't actually have 12 samples, who do we talk to?
That's okay if your kit doesn't have 12. Does anybody's kit have less than 10? Fewer than 10? That should not be the case.
Got 11.
Yeah. 10, 11, and 12, and 13 if you have CBD. Those are all okay. No, that's good. Connie, well, I got Connie Wan in the back. Yes. The question was, how did all of you get chosen for this? Say that one more time, Connie.
The actual, like, growers, how are you selecting who submits?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So there are a few, bars to entry for Cultivation Classic, again, setting it apart from other cups. we encourage folks who are farming free of mineral salt fertilizers or synthetic herbicides, fungicides, pesticides to compete. There's no minimum score on the Power Score tool that you have to have in order to participate or any of that stuff. And one day, I dream of the day when we have a honest to goodness, scientifically verified organic equivalent. I can't use the word organic or the FDA would come at me. But that's the language we use to encourage the type of producer or the type of farm. Every entry in your kit has, of course, passed pesticide, or leak pesticide compliance, moisture, water, all of that stuff. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned is that our analytical laboratory partner, Cascadia Labs, is currently finishing up additional round of potency and terpene testing. So most of these entries in your kit have already been to market. So they've passed compliance, they've tested with their regular analytical laboratories. The rainbow of statewide labs are represented in existing market results for these samples. But even though they've already been tested, we test them all again. And we do that so that we have consistent, clean data. And that will be part of those posters I talked about that you'll be able to see at the event. The consistent terpene results tested all by one lab in a 2-week time period. Same SOPs, etc. Is that your question, Connie?
Yeah.
Okay. I see here, and I see you, Beth, and then here. Yep.
So I'm just kind of not understanding the math here. So there's 3,000 little jars, right?
Ish.
Ish.
Yeah.
And if there's 160 judges, that are around 18 jars of each jar.
Yeah, so some of those went to 3,000 is my nice round number. Some of those went to the analyst round. I have several master kits created in case we mess something up. I create a master kit for a photographer. Yeah. Beth.
I was wondering, is it possible ever to see the differences between the results from the one lab and sort of variations?
I would love that.
Piece of data to consider looking at.
Yes.
Want to talk about Cascadia?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can
Sorry,
talk about
repeat
that.
the question.
Yeah. So Beth essentially asked the question, okay, if these have already passed QC and they're already, compliant, wouldn't it be interesting to compare Cascadia's data for the Colt Classic to the potency data which would go on the consumer's product? Yes, very interesting. It would be, and we may be able to do that this year, but one thing we know that we'll be doing for next year is that Cascadia is not going to be our partner next year, very sadly. However, we have defined a process by which we can assess inter-lab variability. So whoever we're bringing on next year will essentially have to go through an audit process to determine that they can produce reliable and consistent results. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. I would be very interested to do that comparison. What we get from a regulatory standpoint, as far as THC and CBD potency, we're already aware that there's some variability in there. Connecticut has really done this right. When they put a label on a consumer's product, it's a plus or minus 3%, because that's what it is. It's plus or minus. So the consumers in Oregon don't have that benefit, but we may fall into that variability with some of these products, but maybe not.
Right here.
I guess I have 2 questions. Could you talk a little bit about, what is the actual, once we're done on April 1st, then is the cultivation, is that like an award ceremony?
Yeah,
Is it a
thank you.
conference?
Yes, I'm
What
sorry
is
for
it?
taking for
And
granted.
then, is that something that we are then invited to, or are you done with us altogether?
Kick the curve.
The question was, what is the Cultivation Classic? Thank you for asking it. I forget that we actually have about 50% returning judges and 50% brand new judges this year. And that was in large part part of a diversity and representation effort. So thank you, new people and old people who are returning people who have chosen to do this again with us. The Cultivation Classic is Willamette Week's a flagship event that has been, we're in our 4th year now, has been growing and changing every year, but the shape of it this year will look like this. Friday, May 17th and Saturday, May 18th. Friday, think about like a feast or a Design Week Portland or early days of South by Southwest template, where there are a smattering of events with many partners happening all over town. You check in at Cultivation Classic headquarters, which will be Revolution Hall in inner southeast Portland. You grab your badge and you go forth into the city and have a ball checking out workshops or tours or open houses. There's going to be a calendar of events coming soon. And then on Saturday is our main stage conference. And it's a one-day main stage event with various speakers. I cannot wait to announce to you all. We're nearly there for being able to go public with the speakers list and ticket sales. All that's coming mid-March. Yes, you're invited. Please come. And so we'll do speakers all day throughout the mid-morning into the evening, and then 7 p.m. is our award ceremony. And that's where we'll talk about and reveal a lot of this juicy data, and there'll be music and celebrations and then after parties, and it's a whole thing. So yes, please come. Thank you for asking that question.
So I have one more thing to add to that. So the really special part of the whole day is the awards ceremony. You know, like, I would love to say that the most exciting thing is listening to Ethan Russo spout off about phytochemical diversity, which it is to me. But when we pack the hall for the awards ceremony, there is an electricity in the air which is indescribable, and it is truly an historic event every time.
And there's never been one like it anywhere else ever. That's city standards, right?
Yes.
True. I see it on okay, right here.
Oh,
Yep.
So you said that there would be a potential for some of us to be on stage based off of our answers and how we're judging the we. Is that what you're saying?
The Lisa algorithm.
Yeah, the Lisa algorithm. So Lisa,
That's what I'm calling it internally.
That's
Sorry. I hope you don't mind.
pet name. So yes, at some point, like, so Lisa, for instance, we invited her up on stage last year to talk about the credible cultivar, or rather unveil this process of evidence-based recommendations. And we chose her specifically because she was so useful in her feedback, all of the details, and it was just very obvious to us how much time and effort and concentration and attention went into her process. So maybe it'll be Lisa again this year because it was amazing, but maybe it won't. So yeah, I would love, and again, we're still in the formative stages of figuring out exactly what the stage show will look like, but I would love nothing more than to see some of your beautiful faces up on the stage with us.
Do you just want to take a minute? So San Fernando Valley was the entry from Lisa's kit that she rated the highest. And what we were able to do was then look at the set of entries to find Gorilla Snacks, which wasn't in her kit, but make it as a recommendation as a product that was similar to San Fernando Valley as one she should try next. And so we were trying to get it together to like have that farm actually come up on stage with a joint of it for her. So maybe something like that will work out this year. But yeah, that's what that's about.
It just, the timing just didn't work out.
I see you, Ms. Organ, but Anthony, and then you.
I think you may want to go through the numbers that are up there for everybody, that are on the description.
Oh, for Lisa's in particular? So the cultivar in her kit had roughly 23% THC and trace CBD. It was dominant in beta-caryophyllene followed by myrcene and limonene. So that's the cultivar that was in her kit. So phytochemically, the one that was the closest to it that wasn't in her kit was Gorilla Snacks, 23.6. Almost identical on beta-caryophyllene and pretty close on myrcene, and it was also limonene dominant. So a very, very similar phytochemical profile. And hopefully for some of the cultivars in your kit, there's a huge range of different chemicals in there. We've gone to great lengths to put sun-grown stuff and supplemental light stuff and stuff with different potencies so that we can really get a nice range of chemicals into your brains. But last year we also saw that a lot of the entries were very similar, both genetically and chemically. So we don't actually know what you have right now, so we'll have to find that out come May.
I wasn't quite sure, how many years is this? Like, what year is this for Cultivation Classic?
The question was, what year are we on? This will be the 4th year.
And then
I
the
know.
question relative to that is, this is the first year you guys are taking a step to care about having diverse backgrounds. Will you guys be caring about that every year, or is this a one-time thing? and then my other question is, will you guys be reaching out more to get more colored folks? Because, not to be rude, but I think we can do a little better, guys.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your
And I don't mean that in any rude way, it's just, there are a lot of people being left out, and I want to make sure the opportunity gets out there. And so if we're all socially aware, and we all are telling our colored friends that this opportunity is there, I know myself, I shared the invite with probably about 50 people. So if we're purposely sharing that, then we can get the room looking more diverse and have more diversity.
You should all check out the National Cannabis Diversity Awareness Conference happening this Friday that Miss Oregon's producing. I will be there.
That Cultivation Classic is sponsoring, actually. And they have taken the time to actually donate a really generous gift of education and tickets for people that are unreached, for me to go out and be able to give those to those people. So I just wanted to know if when it comes to the judges, are we going to also be taking those steps internally within your staff to make sure that we get more diversity on our judge panel next year?
Yeah, so I actually went to some links this year. It's why there are 160 of you this year instead of 100 like there were last year, to make this judge panel representative, if not better than representative, to mirror the actual demographics of the Portland metro area across race spectra and age. We're getting closer with age. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Yes, it is not. No, it is not a one-time thing.
And
it's a
also,
personal mission of mine.
And also, one additional component that we are extremely mindful of is who's on stage, whose perspectives are being whose perspectives are being shared from the main stage event itself, which we're also going to equal links to make sure that we have a lot of diverse perspectives.
Awesome. Thank you, lady.
So,
Jackie.
being as the medical marijuana field is kind of changing, would it be appropriate for you in the future to consider having participants who have very mainstream diseases like MS or cancer?
I can speak about
Be
that.
able to get that feedback,
Yeah.
just like having older smokers.
Yes.
Is a big issue. I think that is, especially head injuries, those kinds of things, I think that's very important to remember.
I agree, and that's called a clinical trial, and it's regulated by the FDA. And right now, we do not have the legal capability to do that. If I were to provide a blinded product to a medical patient and ask them how it affected their disease process or their symptoms, I would be conducting a clinical trial. Because cannabis is still a Schedule I federally prohibited substance, we do not have the legal capabilities to do that. However, a lot of the questions that have gone into the survey, we have kind of sneakily, fit under the radar to see if we could glean any health type information out of without actually doing a clinical trial. But you're absolutely right in that this is the process by which we determine which molecules are best for which individuals and diseases.
So just to expand on that a little bit, there are a lot of people, in my awareness, I mean, certainly not many people in this room, but that don't have medical marijuana licenses to be able to, they can't afford to do things on that level.
Yep.
So they buy on the consumer level.
Yep.
And so, and when you do that, you're not doing a clinical trial.
You're right in that it's a very common practice to purchase a recreational product and use it medicinally. And even a lot of people who are buying a recreational product who think they're using it recreationally may actually be self-medicating. This is very prominent. The devil is in the detail about what questions am I asking them. And right now, we just cannot legally ask any questions about disease processes or symptom alleviation.
Okay, thank you.
Yes?
Building off of what she said, do you guys invite any therapists or psychiatrists to these things? Because I know personally, my therapists and psychiatrists they still do not agree with this, and because of depression and stuff. But I personally have found marijuana to be really helpful with depression. So it's have you guys tried to get into that just to try to sway minds a little bit, even if it's not on the medical level?
Yes, please invite them to the event in May, or connect them directly to me if we need to have a conversation about specifically why it might be relevant. Yeah, I would love to talk with you more about that. Right here, Miranda.
I know you can't ask us if we are medical patients or treating medically. If you wanted to volunteer that information as consenting adults, where would be the best place to do that in the survey?
Yes, so after the really pretty black box picture with all the different sizes of cannabis, there's a box to say, like, give us your notes, right? Your tasting notes or any other general observations. So if you found some health benefit or wellness or even a symptom alleviation benefit, that's definitely a great place to report it. Thank you. That's an excellent question.
What's the price for the tickets?
What's the price for the ticket? Yeah, for the 2-day event this year, access to a calendar of events on Friday, the whole conference on Saturday, and the award ceremony, and probably an after party, sponsorship dependent, if any of you want to sponsor Major Doc. And it's going to be $79. Thanks, yeah. Okay, we're good right here.
So the data that you guys collect, I mean, you're obviously going to tell, you know, the growers who won. After that, who do you share this data with? To what end?
Yes, thank you so much for asking that question. That's specifically why we created an entity, Smart Cannabis, to protect it. Because our North Star is the consumer. This is information that belongs in the public realm. That's not to say that the competition process can't be monetized and we can't have a beautiful event that pays our salaries. Great. But it is our intention to either publish all or part of our data set in the scientific literature and to convey all of these useful conclusions to the consumer, because it is your right to know what this does to a human brain.
I would say, like, a university researcher have access to any of this?
Yeah, me.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you in network with other researchers?
Yeah, so maybe I should clarify that. So I am an academic researcher. I am a neuroscientist who has been studying the interaction between cannabinoids and opioids for my entire adult life. I have right now a faculty appointment at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, Missouri, and I have just recently accepted a title at Washington State University in the neuroscience department. My intention is to always continue doing science, and this is a really exciting part of science. Do you think? To utilize this data to the maximum public health and wellness benefit that it can possibly produce.
Could you talk a little bit more about the decision to create a analyst weighting and why that is like scientifically?
Jeremy.
The question was, can you say a bit more about the addition this year of the analyst round and the deep dive on aroma? And there's no better person who could possibly answer that question than Jeremy Plum.
Great question. We realized that there's a specialization about identifying the range of aroma, and it's really what you can see, touch, and smell. And that these are things that there is a cross-section in our community who have more than 2 decades of experience, who are really, really passionate about sort of identifying those in as objective a fashion as possible. So this year we designed an instrument and led this process where, as Steph mentioned, had 140 plus samples. It took all day long at Cascadia Labs and really had a cross-section of some amazing people in our community to identify those things in what we hope to be the most profound way. So to kind of take that part out of this, to actually give more weight to this process, is part of the intent there.
And I would say there's an element of QC that was previously missing from this part of our evaluation too. We assume that the producers we work with for this are sending us a jar of really wonderful, really amazing bud that is uncontaminated and free of necrotic tips. Am I saying that right?
And of course, things like PM, botrytis, necrotic tissue, anything that would indicate a QC issue, that's one important part of that. Yes.
I'm the party planner, okay, not the second. But we said we assumed that people were sending us that, but we never actually previously had that in like a cross-checking, humans looking at it to make sure of that in the past, and we thought that that would really step up the legitimacy of the data as well. So there's a new part of that scoring mechanism that actually subtracts points from that section if any of that contaminant, any of those contaminant marks were found or met. We do have a bit more time for a few more questions. Let's take like 3 more, unless there's something crucial.
If you were able to prepare some Gorilla Snacks, if you felt like that recommendation was correct, and do you feel like participating and getting this information has positively affected the way that you purchase cannabis?
The question was to Lisa, did you get some Gorilla Snacks? Did you smoke it? Was the recommendation right? And did it have a positive impact on how you consume cannabis?
I did receive Gorilla Snacks right after that moment. That was like a big thing. They had to go running around finding it, but I did get it. I did find it to be a really positive experience. I had, like, every single time I smoked it, I enjoyed it. I don't remember, like, what I said about it in the back end, or whatever, but, like, and I'm super curious about that, but, yeah, I would definitely say that it was consistency, and it's absolutely helped me to make different decisions.
Can I interject one more thing? So he's in this room, and I'll put him on the spot to say something if he's willing. But I also had a friend who was a judge last year who, has plenty of experience with cannabis, who came forth and said, I had no idea how many different kinds of weed there were, right? I had no idea how many different kinds of experiences I could have with these products. So even someone who comes in, like, knowing what they know, you be surprised how surprised you can be.
I really think cannabis is a really personalized medicine, so I really like this approach in creating a profile for each individual that you could see how it aligns with other people. Have you guys thought about making something like an app with this? So I feel like if you had a UID to, not to be that person, but if you had like a UID in which you could actually apply to a product that someone is rating and then compare that with trials that everybody else is having with their experience with cannabis, you could actually create a profile for what you like compared to other people who report similar results. I feel like it's the next revolution in how people are actually evaluating and talking about how they experience cannabis. And I commend your guys' approach in doing it this way.
Yes, we agree.
Will you guys be doing something similar like with the topicals? Will you be like doing a judgment of different topicals? Because there's a lot of different products out there right now. Your lotions, your oils, what I mean, and different people that may not indulge in the smoking aspect of it, but they might rub it on their neck in the morning for that arthritis, like I do, So.
The question was, you only judge flower in Cultivation Classic, but will you add topicals, edibles, tinctures, etc., extracts, rosin? Thank you. Yes, we have chosen to focus this effort on flower for a plethora of reasons. To be really frank, there's like a bandwidth situation. Two, like the flower and the chemistry, it all goes back to the chemistry of the flower, right? And we are on this mission in this particular way to like get closer to the answers, and it's all going to be about the flower in the end for edibles and tinctures and topicals too. Adi can probably say that in a lot more better scientifically relevant way than I could. But we have talked about what it would look like to also, is Carrie still here? Carrie or Jody from Leaf Goods? She got her kit and ducked out. We have had some conversations about what it would look like to do an edibles edition of Cultivation Classic, but then we got into conversations about the absence of a standard setting body for organic cannabis edibles and ran into a lot of problems for how we would who would we allow in? Because there is this kind of undercurrent, this ethos to what Cultivation Classic stands for, which is clean product. And yeah, there's a lot. Even just like the extraction techniques that you use, would they compete against each other? Would they not? Like, it's a whole deal. So we have had conversations about it, but there's a lot of work to do before we'd be ready to do a competition like this for anything besides dry flower.
I love what you guys are doing. I think it's great.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Okay, right here.
Is there any insurance that any of the flowers, are we checking to see if it's reincorporated, I guess? Because I know the OLC allows us to add flower, but all these entries aren't repeat, correct?
Sorry, give that to me one more time.
So the OLCC allows like all the farms to repeat flower. So is this flower to repeat, or is this all just flower as it would be normally? Because I know a lot of farms are repeating flower.
I'm certain that our Smart Squad, the agricultural product graders, would have picked up on if a product had been dusted. And I don't even think that we would. Yeah.
Sorry, I did not know that before.
A little bit more nefarious, harder to catch. But the reality is, this is actually why the importance of the Smart Squad came into place. These are people who are truly expert in looking at products and have a depth and that. So hopefully call out these.
And I think Steph would tell me that we have time for one more question. Yeah.
Will we have any farmers on stage to talk about some practices or techniques or ways they love their flower, give us this great, beautiful buzz that we're actually.
Yes. Yes, that's an excellent question. And yes, we will have all of the winning farmers will be on stage. We also have a regenerative cannabis award. And every year, this is this is the next level of like, y'all are doing it really right. So. All right, last question. Sorry? Bragging rights. No, let me give you a perfect anecdote. So we have a trophy, and of course they have their poster, and that poster, a lot of times we found in practice that the cultivators will send that out with their packages to all the retailers, like, hey, this was the winner. Yeah. And that has brought demonstrable value. So last year we had a Type 2 flower, Light Me Up by Bull Run. Anybody from Bull Run here? So Light Me Up won out of the Type 2, and that flower fetched $200 more per pound on the market because it won. Yeah. So yes, they do get something out of it. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so happy.